How would you like to heal your inflammation caused by hidden infections? I'm so delighted to introduce to you Greg Lee. He's the founder of the Lyme Research and Healing Center in Frederick, Maryland. And his mission is to detect and eliminate the underlying infections, biofilm communities, and inflammatory imbalances that keep patients stuck, especially when standard approaches fall short. And what's so interesting about inflammation is that lingering neurological symptoms, fatigue, or chronic infections are fueled by hidden triggers, and Greg Lee will tell us all about it. So tell us more.
Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
So we have a clinic here in Frederick, Maryland, where we've seen over 1,000 patients, mostly with something called Lyme disease, which is a tick-borne infection. And it creates lots of inflammation and lots of toxins. And patients will go to their doctor and they're like, oh, I feel sick. And their tests, oh, your tests are all normal. And you need to go to a specialist or you need to go to a psych doc. And eventually they end up here. And they're like, no one can figure me out. I feel terrible. I can't sleep. I'm tired. My brain doesn't work. And pain and inflammation is everywhere. And so what we found was we need to have better diagnostics than what they're getting from their doctor. So we have what's called an advanced scan, where it uses electrical frequencies to scan the body for over 1,000 different infections, toxins, inflammatory compounds, 100 regions of the brain, what's going on with the immune system, what's going on with toxins. So we get a really broad picture of like what's going on. And then we can zoom in on like, oh, you've been exposed to mold and you have mold toxins. That's creating lots of inflammation. Or you have a tick-borne infection called Babesia, or you have Epstein-Barr virus and so on. So we're able to kind of narrow in on what are the underlying causes of why the person's feeling sick that may not have shown up on their blood test or in a clinical diagnosis with their doctor. And once we know those things, then we can tailor customized remedies and treatments to each person. And what we find is that a lot of these people have too much inflammation. They have could be histamine, and they have a condition called mast cell activation, where actually these little cells called mast cells, they're like your first front line of your immune system. And if they detect a toxin or an infection, they go, hey, psh, and they release all this stuff. And for many of our patients, it's too much release that's going on, and they become flooded. It's almost like they're just, drowning in inflammation. And so what we need to do is like say, hey, let's look at what's causing that. It's mold, it's Lyme, it's, toxins or something like that. And based on what we can find, then we can craft strategies to begin to help a person detox, get the inflammation down, increase their energy, because you need energy to heal. You need mitochondrial energy, you need adrenal, thyroid energy, and almost every one of our patients are deficient at some level of being energized to fight, the infection and get the inflammation down.
Wow, that's so interesting. So tell us about what are the kinds of things that people are most shocked to hear that they have based on this scan that you do.
One of the things that comes up over and over again is parasites, actually, from people who've never been out of the country or they've never, gone to wherever parasites live in the U.S. or they don't think they have. And they're like, oh my gosh. And we do some anti-parasite remedies and whoa, oh my gosh, look what came out of me. And they send me pictures and stuff. And I'm like, ugh, thanks. And so people have like all sorts of intestinal worms, or they have things called protozoa, which are like single cell amoebas, or something called Babesia, which is like malaria. It's another tick-borne infection that they can get, especially now. It's pretty much throughout the U.S. and also in Europe. And we find that over and over again, and that is often missed in our patients that have come from other doctors. They're like, my doctor didn't, find this. What's going on? In fact, we had one guy, he went to the top medical institution in the US 37 times. And they diagnosed with all these different, issues and infections. They gave him all sorts of remedies, and he kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And with our scan, we found three things that they had missed. We found a mold in his sinuses called aspergillus. We found a gut infection called Clostridia. And we found a tick-borne infection called brucellosis. And he was basically pretty much disabled. He's the owner of his business, so he basically couldn't lead his business. He was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't think, I can't do anything. And so we work with him, intensely, and weekly for a while, and then he would come, space it out. And after about 4 months, he comes to us and says, "Hey, you saved my life. I'm going to vacation in Alaska. Give people my name and number, and you can have them. I'll tell them what you did." So it's after over a decade working with this top medical institution, within 4 months later, he's like, talking to anybody who wants to talk to, who calls us and says, "Hey, you have anybody I can talk to?" And I go, "Yeah, you can talk to this guy." So
thank you. Tell us about the impact of inflammation on acne, because I've suffered from acne for since I was 13. I'm 43 now, so like 30 years, and I'm kind of like keeping it under control with like a topical cream, but I can't say that I got rid of it, and it has had a tremendous impact on my confidence.
Yeah. So with patients that that have acne, they often have an infection. It's called propionous acne, and that feeds on the oil in the pores. And so diet is huge, obviously cutting out oilier foods and things like that. And there's also different remedies that can help your immune system in your skin. Your skin has an immune system itself with all these like microbes and responses, so it can begin to fight off the acne better. So there's different soaps that our patients will use, topical remedies to help, reduce the amount of oil that's there, and then also some antibacterial remedies. Some people use silver, other people use one of my colleagues, actually I talked to her recently, she goes, "I have these little viruses called phages that clear acne out of patients." And this is an experimental. She hasn't brought it to market yet. So I'm like, can I get those phages for acne? Because I have patients that are, they have, want a remedy to help clear the bacteria that are causing the acne. So, yeah.
Thank you. So in terms of the potential remedies to heal the inflammation caused by hidden infections, what are the types of remedies that you've kind of provided for your patients?
So we have a whole library of treatments and remedies. Some of our favorite remedies are essential oils. One of them is called lavender, and it's one of the most studied essential oils out there in human and also lab studies. And it has an amazing quality of reducing multiple kinds of inflammation, things called interleukins and something called tumor necrosis factor alpha, which we often see elevated in our patients. And what patients can do is they can diffuse it at night. They can put it a little bit on their pillow. They can put some topically with a carrier oil on their skin. And we also have patients take it internally in different formulations to help reduce internal inflammation. It is very effective. We also use lots of herbal remedies. One of our more common ones is turmeric, which has this compound called curcumin in it. And that really, you can find that in curries and other kinds of dishes. Also, it has amazing qualities. It's actually, it helps kill protozoa, like one of these parasites, and lowers inflammation, helps detox quickly, and is often, mixed in with other things to help the body to take it up, a black pepper compound, to help it be absorbed better in the body. So we also have, sorry.
Yes, please tell me more.
We also have treatments. One of the amazing things I discovered about about 10 years ago is hydrogen therapy, where patients are actually inhaling hydrogen, or we can put it topically on the skin, on inflamed areas, or like we do in the office, we drink the hydrogen infused in water. And when patients who have severe brain fog or lots of brain inflammation or anxiety or insomnia, and they'll inhale this when they come in the office, it's like it goes right in through the blood-brain barrier and starts to lower inflammation quickly. And patients are like, wow, my brain fog is 50% better. How did you do that? And they're just doing the hydrogen. And then after an hour, they're like, wow, it's like 80% better. Like, and then they're like, how much is that machine? And they go buy a machine, and that makes them be able to treat themselves every day. This is something I do personally every day at home, and it really helps calm my system down when I'm going to bed and helps clean out inflammation that I may have picked up during the day. It's also detoxifying for mycotoxins in a research study also. So it's a great, kind of one of these longevity kind of maintenance treatments. Another amazing treatment they'll use is something called microcurrent. There's something called frequency-specific microcurrent, where you have an anti-inflammatory frequency you can combine with a location frequency like the brain and say, okay, here's 40, which is anti-inflammatory, and here's the brain, 1. Put those together. And I learned about it at a conference where they had this radiologist. He had said, like, okay, you could see on the screen, here's a, live image of the brain, that I was taking. And you saw this inflamed area, and it says, okay, I'm applying the anti-inflammatory frequency. And you saw the inflamed area go, almost immediately. And I was like, whoa, I need that. So now we have, we'll have patients come in. We will sometimes have 3 separate units on them. 1 for lowering inflammation, 1 for fighting infection, 1 for nourishing and replenishing their energy. So it really helps deeply hidden inflammation, systemic inflammation that may be hard to get to with remedies and other treatments. So
thank you. Tell us about neurological conditions and preventing them, because I'm over 40 now, and I would think that every person over 40 is now thinking about preventing Alzheimer's and preventing Parkinson's and preventing, being in a wheelchair at 90 years old. I'm thinking about what can I do now to kind of heal my inflammation so that I don't get to a stage where I need help. So is there anything I can do to prevent these kind of conditions that are potentially caused or linked somehow with inflammation?
Yeah. I mean, I'm over 60, so I'm like, it's definitely top of mind. Like, hey, don't get Alzheimer's. Do what you can to prevent it. So I resonate with that. So that's why I do the molecular hydrogen therapy, inhale, and that lowers brain inflammation. That lowers toxicity. And then also I mentioned the microcurrent. As I mentioned, you can just say, hey, let's target these regions of the brain, the forebrain, the medulla, the midbrain, and all these other things that may be impacted first when people get Alzheimer's. And let's clear out the congestion. Let's clear out the inflammation. Let's clear out the toxins. So your brain gets cleaned out even more, and you can do it while you're just sitting in a chair. You can do it, watching TV or whatever people are doing. They just put some sticky pads on either side of their head, on their shoulders, and the frequencies then help clean out the nervous system. Also, taking remedies. Another great essential oil for the brain is frankincense. We love frankincense, and it has such neuroprotective properties, anti-inflammatory properties. There's also a supplement we give a lot of patients called resveratrol. Resveratrol is an extract you get from red grapes, also a anti-Lyme plant called Japanese knotweed. And it goes in, it also has some antimicrobial properties, anti-inflammatory properties. And so we look at, the research on all these treatments and remedies to see, and then in our scan, we can say, oh, you have some buildup of abnormal proteins in your head. What remedies or treatments will help reduce that in the scan? Because the scan makes a computer model of each person, and then we can apply remedies to say, okay, what do we need to do to lower that down? And sometimes it is even just feeding the energy into the brain, the mitochondria of the brain. So we use a supplement called NAD+, which is great in different studies, like Alzheimer's, like animal studies. It's very helpful for clearing out abnormal proteins like beta amyloid, and also because your mitochondria, if they're working and they're fed, they will take care of a lot of the issues that can happen with, inflammation and buildup in the brain.
Thank you.
So.
Tell us more about parasites, and how do parasites, for example, end up in not just in your gut, but in other areas of your body? And is there anything else that can be done to prevent them kind of like spreading and, keeping control of them? Because I think that they're likely to always be there, but you have to just like manage them, almost like pest control, isn't it?
Yeah, they're around. You can walk outside in the dirt and they can jump on you that way. So there was a study that a physician, Dietrich Klinghardt, cited, and he said they did a study in New York City salad bars. Guess what they found? They found parasitic cysts on every salad bar in New York City. So unfortunately, you have to, if you're doing like salads and things like that, what I do at home is I make something called hypochlorous acid, and I let my greens, what I'm going to eat that I'm not going to cook, whether it be lettuce and spinach, sit in there for like a minute or two, and that supposedly will kill off the parasitic cysts and eggs that may be hard to see and hard to wash off on the lettuce, and that will help reduce you getting things that you don't know because you can't see them in your food. And then also, I had several patients, they claimed that they got something called tapeworms from eating undercooked barbecue. And so, pork barbecue for it. And then so, I mean, I love barbecue, but I'm afraid of parasites more. So I kind of, want my barbecue really cooked, not if I don't know, then, that would be risky behavior. Also, sushi. We have patients that have brain worms from eating sushi. You can see sometimes if you get fish, that if you open it up, you can see like worms actually in the fish. So don't eat raw sushi, only cooked, because that way that hopefully will kill off the parasites in there. So those are some of the ways you can do it. In Chinese medicine, garlic is like raw garlic, not cooked garlic. Raw garlic has a compound called allicin, which is anti-parasitic, and it is also, detoxifying and helps your immune system to fight parasites also.
Thank you. For someone who is, let's say, already infected with a lot of parasites, and do these parasites actually end up in the brain as well? And if so, what can someone do? Like, is it, because I've seen some images in TikTok and of parasites like eating the brain and so on, and because of that kind of causing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. But please correct me, because that's just TikTok. It just freaks the hell out of me. So I'm wondering whether what can we do to kind of, aside from not eating sushi and so on, is that true that parasites do kind of like gradually eat your brain if they end up in there? And once they have done it, like, is it possible to like I know, does the brain grow back, or you're just left with the holes, or
So yes, we do have patients that have brain parasites, unfortunately, and obviously changing their diet, not eating the raw sushi or doing whatever, letting them wash their vegetables more with hypochlorous or vinegar or whatever it is, can help reduce the incidence of that. And unfortunately, some of these parasites, when they reproduce, they release their little tiny baby parasites into the bloodstream, and then they can swim around and get into the brain, unfortunately. So with those patients, they often need a lot of detoxification and drainage of inflammation, because when you start killing off parasites in the brain, you can have a flare-up of pain, inflammation, swelling, because when parasites die, they release toxins. That then spikes up inflammation. So you really need to be careful that you don't kill too much all at once. You kind of slowly, gradually increase the killing. Antimicrobial remedies while you're draining inflammation, you're doing hydrogen, you're doing microcurrent, you're doing anti-inflammatory remedies. Could be also things like activated charcoal, because that'll also bind the toxins and help you get them out and eliminate them.
Thank you. So it takes like quite a long time. Does it take quite a few months for someone who already has like high inflammation and high parasitic, high parasites to heal?
Yes, it often because the die-off reaction when you start killing these things can really increase lots of symptoms. So we want to be careful. We're not making people like have severe flare-ups of pain or inflammation or headaches, that you really want to slow roll it and then increase it as they can handle it.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
So we're available on the web at the LymeResearchCenter.com, and have an online training community called Heal for Real. And we actually do weekly trainings on how to lower inflammation using natural remedies, herbs, essential oils, supplements, peptides, and treatments like hydrogen and microcurrent. And that's at LymeResearchCenter.com/HFR. And also, I'd love to offer your listeners a free download on our top anti-inflammatory remedies at LymeResearchCenter.com/HEAL, capital HEAL, and they can get it there. And hopefully you can add that when you in the show notes, and they can get it from the link in there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.